Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as your law intellect. And Tracy, I don't know what's going on. All I know is Chauncy Billups saying, do it. Free Chauncy. Free Chauncy. If you guys have not heard, there is a big ring allegedly that was going on with some type of betting, and we are going to go over that indictment. It alleges that the mafia is involved, and it's retired basketball players and head coach Chauncy Billups. And I don't know what to say, guys, except hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. If you are new here, welcome to the channel. Yeah, we have this indictment. It was unsealed today. Apparently this has been an investigation that has been going on since January, and I believe the indictment came back and it was under seal on October 3rd-ish or something like that, and it was just unsealed today. And apparently the government woke up and said, you get arrested, you get arrested, you and you get arrested, because the indictment alleges a slew of people that have been arrested for these allegations. Again, every single person is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And Chauncy ain't do it, okay? I'm just saying. Chauncy, whatever it is, Chauncy Billups ain't do it. Y'all know Chauncy is one of the Detroit, Pistons. In our good era, when we actually were getting championships and stuff. I had shirts with Chauncy on it. I just can't believe it. We had a three-peat. What is going on here? I don't know. But anyway, y'all, I hope you guys are having a great Thursday. Better than they're having anyway. Good to see each and every one of you. Patty, and Shirley, and I Am Unique, and TJ. You said you think Gil snitch. See, I wasn't really following like that, but when I seen in the chat people kept bringing up his name, it's like, so you have to fill me on what he has to do with this whole situation, because I don't have a clue. Bullchat said, Pam, you do basketball too. What up, dog? Listen to hear from the D. Listen, that's my time. Chauncy Billups. That's my air. See, my son know free Mr. Big Shot. My son know. He grew up with it too. We were at them games. We were at all the Pistons games back then. I couldn't tell you not one player on the Pistons today. But back then, yeah, I was definitely a fan. All right, y'all. So we're going to pull up this here indictment and we're going to see what is going on. If you guys come in on the replay, welcome to the replay. Thank you so much for supporting in that capacity. Wait a minute. January 23 said, because y'all got to put me up on game. Gil was hosting illegal poker games with the Israeli mob. Someone who lost all their money snitched on him. Oh, my God, today. Yes. Isaiah Thomas. That's the original Bad Boys with Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. That's the original Bad Boys. Then we had a nice little era some years later in the 2000s, and that's what Chauncy Billups was on the team. You know what? Jay Blake. Whatever it is, Chauncey ain't do it. Leon just said quite a few got caught up in the gambling mess early this year, so someone telling. Yeah, some people from what I've glanced at, I think some of the people that are telling are the people that allege that they got taken for their money. Like they got allegedly taken for like it wasn't $100. See, I don't like losing $20 in a slot machine. I quit. I, I lose $20 at a casino in a slot machine. Just direct me to where we can eat at the restaurant because that's what I'll be doing until we leave. I don't like to lose $1, let alone losing over $1 million. Okay, so it sounds like to me from what I glanced at because I haven't read the whole thing. I was just trying to look to see Chauncey's name and see what he allegedly did. And you said I quit at $5. Listen, you my kind of people. I can't lose money and get like I get the thrill of it all, especially with slot machines, because when you go into the casinos, it's like they have all the lights, like all the lights and all the sounds. And it's a psychological thing. It has to be why they do that. It's a psychological thing. So like you would literally win $5 and they will make it seem like you won $1,000. It's like they do it like one penny at a time almost just to make you feel like you really got something. And then you just go and you keep going till you get them their $5 back. When I win any money, I don't care. It'll be if I win $100, I'm leaving with that $100 and that's it. I don't do anything more than that. But there are people like I was one time when I was at Firekeepers. It's a casino here in Michigan in Battle Creek. And it was a lady there, and she was talking about how she hadn't been back in years because she had a gambling problem. And she had lost $20,000 last time she was there, and she sold her car in order to gamble. I'm like, whoa. So it's really an addictive behavior. You know, it is an addiction. That's why it's like you'll see the apps where you can bet on, but then they'll also tell you if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800. So they have to do caveats because there are people that have lost their families, homes, cars, everything for betting. I just don't like to give my money away. So but they hope, the hope is you win $100. We'll let you win something. You're going to give it all back and some. That's the hope of it. Tracy said, I took my mom to Vegas and I came home with the same money I left with. I'm not giving them people my money, but I sent to so many shows. They got my money in shows. You know what? When I went to Vegas, Tracy, I didn't even spend money on shows. You know what I did? I went to those little, you know how they have those timeshare little presentations where they try to try to strong arm you and coerce you into buying timeshares. I went to those. Sat there for the little hour. Then they send you all around. You can get this timeshare for $1,000. Then you go to the next person. Just for you today, we'll do it for $800. Then when you're like, no, I'm leaving. Then the next person you go to, well, we'll give you $400, just $400. Nope, I'm good. By the time you leave, they're offering a space for $150. And I'm like, nope, I'm firm on what I want. So I get my tickets and I will go around. But the crazy part is, even though I've been to Firekeepers, I really just like their rooms, their food. I'll take Danielle swimming and all of that. So we go there, not even for the gambling portion of it. But going to Vegas, we have never gambled. As many times as we've been to Vegas, we do everything but gamble. So we'll go to the shows, we'll go sightsee, We'll go to the old strip and go shopping. Like, we've done everything but gamble when we go. So yeah, thank God that's not one of my issues, because yeah. Angie said, I worked in the casino industry for 5.5 years as an accountant and internal auditor. The most money I've ever spent is $30, and I'm still upset about it. I know how everyone works and all the regs. No, yeah, I figured that. So yeah. Yeah, a lot of you guys are just like me. You said DraftKings got me now. Oh man. Do it in, try to do it in increments. Do that slowly, because it'll get you. You have cousins that live in Battle Creek. I have an aunt and cousins in Battle Creek too. We might be related, Auntie Eva. Uh, you said I'm cashing out with $100. And you guys are definitely my people, because to sit around thinking I'm about to be a multi-millionaire, and that's why they let somebody win every now and then. I remember one year, it was New Year's, and we went there for New Year's because they would have like a live show in Battle Creek. It was really, really dope. And the lady next to me, she was like, I've never gambled before. She put in like $5 or something, and she won like, how much she win, Dev? Like $6,000 or something after the fight. And she was sitting there, and me and Dev was looking at each other because we was literally right next to the machine. We could have sat on the machine. And I think that's what everybody could be thinking, like, why I ain't picked that machine? So we were like sitting right next to the machine. She was sitting on the machine. And honestly, we had free, like they'll give you free playtime and stuff. And we were doing free play. We wasn't even using our money. So she gets on there and she's like nervous. And the people come out with the little inner ears and they talking to each other. We need your ID. Then they have people that come out. It was just such a big show. And everybody around was like, oh, you won. And people will get up and look at your winnings and see what you won and all of that. Yeah, a lot of that stuff is they psychologically have you feeling like you can get the same amount too, when once they get so much money from you, or if you win a certain amount of money, I don't even think that they will even give you the money. But I don't know the inner workings of it. But man, listen, she won 6,500. We were sitting there looking at her because we were right next to the lady. We was like, it could have been me. But it ain't make us want to like keep gambling more. We were like, shoot, how much you get, Deb? He was like, 200. I was like, shoot, I got 150. Let's go back up to this room, order us some room service, and watch a movie. That was it. I lost 40 at the casino, was ready to go. Yeah. All right, y'all. Let's get into this indictment here. Thank you guys so much for coming over here. This was just unsealed today, and you see it's a slew of people. Y'all see this? And I was looking at some of these names. I'm like, they got Ernest Ayello, Nelson Alvarez, known as Spanish G, Luis Apichello, known as Lou App, Amar something, known as Flapper Poker, and Flappy, Saul Betcher, Chauncy Billups, Matthew Didino, also known as Maddie, and the wrestler, Eric Ernest, known as Spook. Shoot, these people scaring me with the names. My gosh. Lee, John, Marco, Thomas, Geraldo, known as Juice, Jamie, Tony, known as Black Tony, Kenny, Shane is known as Sugar, Osmond, known as Albanian Bruce, and Big Bruce. Horatio is known as H. Zen is known as Jonathan Chan, Jonathan Hughes, Screwley, and Stanley. Damon Jones, known as D. Jones. Joseph John, known as John South. Curtis, known as Kurt. Nicholas Michael Angelo Ruggiero. He actually has an attorney that's already entered an appearance. I did see that. Anthony, known as Doc. Robert Stroud, known as Black Rob. Seth Sophia is known as Pookie. Everybody know a Pookie. And Julius is known as Jay. Those are all the people on today that were alleged to have committed crimes in this here indictment. Yeah, he's a former NBA player as well. You said the names alone. You listen here. It ain't my J. Ain't on that list. All right. Beginning in at least 2019, the defendants and their co-conspirators disclaimer, these people are all innocent. From Pookie to Black Rob to Chauncy. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. These are just allegations that the government has to prove. Beginning in and at least 2019, the defendants and their co-conspirators engaged in a complex fraud scheme to rig or cheat at illegal poker games in the Eastern District of New York throughout the United States. And they're going to be calling it the rigged poker scheme or the scheme. The defendants and their co-conspirators carried out the rigged poker scheme by manipulating certain poker games at otherwise non-rigged or quote straight illegal poker games, including weekly poker games occurring at locations on Washington Place and Lexington Avenue in Manhattan, New York. The Washington Place game and Lexington Avenue game were on record with and operated with the express permission and approval of members and associates of certain organized crime families in La Cosa Nostra who provided support and protection for the games and collected owed debt from the games in exchange for a portion of the illegal gambling proceeds. Victims of the rigger poker scheme believed they were participating in quote straight illegal poker games. And they were gambling against other participants and on equal footing. So this was like illegal within illegal. Is that what they're saying? Am I reading that correctly? So they thought they went straight illegal poker games. That's interesting. Okay. In reality, however, the defendants and their co-conspirators who constituted the remaining participants purportedly playing in the poker game worked together on cheating teams, collectively the cheating teams, that used advanced wireless technologies to read the cards dealt in each poker hand and relay that information to the defendants and co-conspirators participating in the illegal poker games. The defendants and their co-conspirators then bet according to ensure that the unsuspecting victims lost money. Through the rigged poker scheme, the defendants and their co-conspirators defrauded victims of millions of dollars. We already went over who all the defendants were or are. So we ain't got to go through that. Let's get into this scheme because what are y'all saying? Let's get into this scheme here. Alleged. The defendants, and they add Awada, Hu, Stroud, and Trustman, together with others, organized and participated in rigged games as well as, quote, square illegal poker games at various locations in New York, including the Washington Place game and the Lexington Avenue game and other locations throughout the U.S., including East Hampton, New York. The defendants Goodson, Hennon, Meeks, and Stroud, together with others, supplied other defendants and their co-conspirators in the scheme with cheating technology. On numerous occasions, certain defendants and their co-conspirators invited the victims, who were often wealthy, to rigged games. To attract the victims, in some instances, Well-known former professional athletes participated in the rigged poker games and were referred to as face cards. The face cards were members of the cheating teams and received a portion of the criminal proceeds in exchange for their participation in the scheme. So they would just get people that had money, which were these alleged former NBA players, that would come in and they really were participating in the game just so it looks like a wealthy, equal playing field of wealthy people, but they were actually being paid just to participate. This is what they're alleging. The defendants, Chauncy Billups and Damon Jones, both of whom are former professional basketball players, were face cards and members of the cheating team. So it's alleged, I guess, that he was one of the ones they would call like, yeah, we just need you to sit here and make your bets and participate, but we gonna break you off a little something. We just need you here. So I don't know if maybe they didn't tell them what they wanted them there for. They just thought they was getting a couple of dollars. I don't know, but this is all alleged. Okay, this entire indictment is alleged. At the rigged games, the members of the cheating teams, including the defendants and their co-conspirators, used card shuffling machines that were purportedly randomly shuffling the playing cards to ensure fairness. However, the rigged shuffling machines were secretly altered to use concealed technology to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay the information via interstate wires to an offsite operator. The operator then communicated that information by cellular telephone to a member of the cheating team seated at the rigged game poker table, referred to as the quarterback or driver, who used secret signaling to share the information with the other members of the cheating teams playing in the rigged games. The cheating teams used the information from the quarterback to defraud the victims who believed they were playing straight illegal poker games. So all this illegal anyway, but this was illegal times illegal squared. At times, the defendants also utilized other cheating technologies, such as electronic poker chip trays that could secretly read cards placed on the poker table, car analyzers that utilized technologies loaded onto decoy cellular telephones that would surreptitiously detect which cards were on the table, and playing cards that had markers visible only to individuals wearing specially designed contact lenses or sunglasses. With respect to poker games held in the New York City area, members and associates of Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese crime families used threats and intimidation to assure payment of debts from the rigged games and the square illegal poker games organized by the defendants and their co-conspirators, as well as to protect the games from competition and other potential threats. In exchange, members and associates of these families, these alleged crime families, received portions of the proceeds from the rigged games and the square illegal poker games. The defendants, Aiello, Geraldo, Zelani, received proceeds on behalf of the Bonanno crime family, and Gallo, Fama, and Lonnie and Ruggiero Jr. received proceeds on behalf of the Gambino family. The defendant, Dardino, received proceeds on behalf of the Genovese crime family. In addition to receiving proceeds from the rigged games and square illegal poker games, certain members and associates of the Gambino crime family participated on cheating teams, including the defendants. Y'all see those names. To conceal the nature and extent of the rigged poker scheme, as well as the proceeds from square illegal poker games, the defendants and their co-conspirators laundered their criminal proceeds through shell companies and third parties. Anthony and his associates and entities laundered the proceeds from the rigged games and the Square illegal poker games for other defendants and their co-conspirators. In exchange for a fee, he received payments from victims of the rigged games and the Square illegal poker games and provided cash or other forms of payment, such as cryptocurrency, to the defendants, including, among others, the defendants Owada, Stroud, and Trustman. The defendants also sent, I know I'm messing this name up, Schneiderman, maybe Schneiderman, proceeds from the rigged games and Square illegal poker games through wire transfers and other means, with Schneiderman for a fee converted to cash for the defendants. So here's an example that they're about to get. Make sure you guys hit this like button. Tyrone said this will be the next big case for the DLJ. Now the mafia is in on it too. This is all alleged. This is all alleged. You said I thought the mafia was done. Very Cherry said this the kind of scheme Nesto wishes he could do. I don't know, but what I do know is I need you all to hit that like button for your girl and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. So here's an example of how they're saying that it works. And you guys can hit that super chat too, or that cash app if you feel so led. For example, in furtherance of the rigged poker scheme in or around April 2019, several of the defendants participated in rigged games in Las Vegas, Nevada, at which they defrauded victims of at least $50,000. The defendants, Chauncy Billups, Eric Ernest, Jamie Gillette, Robert Stroud, and Sophia Wee, organized and participated in these rigged games using a rigged shuffling machine supplied by Stroud. As another example, in or around June and July of 2023, several of the defendants participated in rigged games at the Lexington Avenue game, at which they defrauded John Doe number 1, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, of approximately $1.8 million. So when you say, who do y'all think told? You take $1 million from me, I'm singing like a bird. But this is all allegedly. This is what, John Doe is saying. His name ain't even out here. The defendants, Awada, Gallo, Garson, Han, Hu, Mazzalo, Trustman, organized and participated in the games involving John Doe number 1, using a rigged shuffling machine supplied by the defendants Goodson and Stroud. The defendants Aiello, Dadino, Fama, Gallo, Geraldo, Zellini received a portion of the criminal proceeds from the games involving John Doe number 1 on behalf of all these alleged crime families. The defendant Schneiderman and his co-conspirators laundered at least $100,000 of the criminal proceeds from the games involving John Doe number 1. This is some complicated stuff. Yeah, they working on this for a while. As another example, in or about June of 2023, several of the defendants participated in rigged games in East Hampton, New York, at which they defrauded John Doe number 2 and John Doe number 3, individuals whose identities are known to the grand jury, of at least $46,500 and $105,000 respectively. Various defendants here organized and participated in the rigged games involving John Doe number 2 and number 3 using a rigged shuffling machine supplied by Goodson and Stroud. The defendant, Anthony Schneiderman, and his co-conspirators laundered criminal proceeds from the rigged games involving John Doe number 2 and John Doe number 3. As another example, just in case you needed another one. In or about September 2024, several of the defendants participated in rigged games in Miami, Florida, at which they defrauded John Doe number 4, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, of at least $60,000. The defendants, Alvarez, Gillette, Goodson, Han, Mazzola, Renzulli, and Stroud, organized and participated in the rigged games involving John Doe number 4, using a rigged shuffling machine supplied by Goodson and Stroud. The defendant, Schneiderman, laundered criminal proceeds from the rigged games involving John Doe number 4. Overall, from approximately April 2019 through the present, the rigged poker scheme caused losses to the victims of at least $7,150,000. My. There's a lot going on. Well, they're holding back names because typically they make stay John Doe, like we seen in the Diddy case, because they're alleging mafia ties. People probably don't want to talk if they feel like they might lose a limb or a life or be in the Hudson River somewhere. So maybe they don't want to be out there, or they may just wait until they get to trial. Just like again in the Diddy trial, we knew who victim number 1 was because victim number 1 had filed a civil lawsuit in her name, which was Cassie Ventura. But in the indictment, it still had victim number 1, victim number 2, victim number 3. We knew who victim number 2 was, but she still went in as Jane Doe. And then victim number 3 was Gina, and she said she was alleged victim number 3. So that's not uncommon for them to do that. We just went over the David E. Taylor case. Same thing. They had victims and initials and all of that. So they don't typically put the victims' names, the alleged victims' names in the indictment. Thank you so much, Yvette, for the super chat. I appreciate the support. How could you win this case, or would you be a lawyer for anyone being charged? I don't know all the facts. Like I said, I just know what they're saying in this indictment. It could have been where some of these people feel like they got too. Or they can say they didn't use these machines. I don't know. I don't know what their arguments will be, but I'm sure there'll be some. And I also believe that some will probably go ahead and cop a plea. That'll probably happen too. But according to reports, looks like Chauncy Billups is on leave. Like he's on leave right now, as you may suspect. I'm trying to see if I so an NBA statement on Billups and Rozier being placed on leave from the respective teams. We are in the process of reviewing the federal indictment announced today. The Terry Rozier and Chauncy Billups are being placed on immediate leave from their teams, and we will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. We take these allegations with the utmost seriousness, and the integrity of our game remains our top priority. So there's that. Let's go on. On several occasions, the defendants and their co-conspirators used threats of force and violence to secure the repayment of debts from illegal poker games. Among other instances, in or about and between November 2022 and February 2023, the defendants Geraldo, Hu, and Zellini conspired to and did extort John Doe number 5, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, to secure the repayment of debt from illegal poker games. So if you was like, nah, I'm not giving this money, they allegedly would get people that would say, oh, you giving us this money. Similarly, in or about in between September 2023 and October 2023, the defendants Betcher, Hugh, and Trustman conspired to and did extort John Doe number 6, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, to secure the repayment of debt from illegal poker games. In addition, on one occasion, several of the defendants conspired to steal a rigged shuffling machine from John Doe number 7, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, who had previously supplied rigged shuffling machines. Specifically, on or about September 7th, 2023, the defendants, Alwaldo, Hadi, Mazzola, Manucci, and Stroud, I should have just remembered their names as Who is Pookie and all of them, conspired to commit and committed a gunpoint robbery of John Doe number 7 to steal a specific model of rigged shuffling machine from John Doe number 7 that the defendants wanted to use in an illegal poker game. So count 1 is wire fraud conspiracy, and they're alleging, it looked like pretty much everybody is a part of that one. Let me see. They got Spanish G, Lou App, Flapper Poker. Yeah, it looks like it applies to almost all the defendants. And it says that they also, together with others, did knowingly and intentionally conspire to devise a scheme and artifice to defraud the victims, including John Doe number 1, number 2, and number 3 and 4, to obtain money and property from the victims by means of one or more materially false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises, and for the purpose of executing such scheme and artifice, to transmit cause to be transmitted by means of wire communication to interstate and foreign commerce, writing, signs, signals, pictures, and sounds, contrary to the law. So wire fraud conspiracy. Count 2 is operation of an illegal gambling business. That's the Washington Place game. And they say in or about January 2021 and October 2023, both dates being approximate and inclusive within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, the defendants, Owada, known as Flapper Poker, and Flappy, the Dino, known as Maddie, and the wrestler, Fama, Gallo, Lonnie, Manucci, Renzulli, Ruggiero Jr., together with others, did knowingly and intentionally conduct, finance, manage, supervise, direct, and own all or part of an illegal gambling business, to wit, a gambling business involving illegal poker games located in and around Washington Place, New York, which operate in violation of the laws of New York State, to wit, New York Penal Code Section 225.05 and 20.00, and which involve 5 or more persons who conducted, financed, managed, supervised, directed, and owned all or part of such business, and which remain in substantially continuous operation for one or more periods in excess of 30 days and had a gross revenue of at least $2,000 in one or more single night. Count 3, another operation of illegal gambling business, and that's from January 2022 to 2023 within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere. The defendants, Aiello, Betcher, Geraldo, Goodson, Osman, Hadi, Hugh, I'm trying to just get their last names, Tressman, Zellini, together with others, did knowingly, intentionally conduct, finance, manage, supervise, direct, and own all or part of the illegal gambling business, to wit, similar to what we just read. Count 4 is money laundering. This one looks like pretty much everybody is in this one. In or about and between April 2019 and to the present, both dates being approximate and inclusive within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, the defendants, it's pretty much all of them. We got Alvarez, we got Apicella, Owaldi, Becker, Chauncy, Didino, Ernest, Gallo, Garzin, Geraldo, Gillette, Goodson, Hennon, Hugh, Mazat, pretty much all. Damon Jones, all of them. It looked like all the people in here are under count 1 and they're under count 4 is what it looks like. So Chauncey, you on 2 of these counts so far. To conduct, warrant, they did, together with others, did knowingly and intentionally conspire to conduct one or more financial transactions, to wit, transactions in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce, and transactions involving the use of a financial institution, that is engaged in activities of which affect interstate and foreign commerce, which transactions involve the proceeds of one or more specified unlawful activity, to wit, wire fraud in violation of 18 USC 1343, and the operation of illegal gambling business in violation of Title 18 USC Section 1955, knowing that the property involved in the financial transactions represented the proceeds of some form of unlawful activity, and knowing that the transactions were designed in whole and in part to conceal and disguise the nature, location, source, ownership, and control of the proceeds of the specific unlawful activity contrary to the law. To engage in one or more monetary transactions within the U.S. in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce by, through, to one or more financial institution and criminally derived property of a value greater than 10K and derived from one or more specified unlawful activities, the wit, wire fraud, the operation of an illegal gambling business. Count 5 is Hobbs Act. Y'all remember that if you guys were following the Bishop story when he was robbed on camera. Bishop Whitehead, the people that robbed him that have pled, 2 pled and 1 was unalived, they were charged under the Hobbs Act. So it's basically a robbery. Hobbs Act extortion conspiracy for John Doe number 5, in or about between November 2022 and February 2023, both dates being approximate and inclusive within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere. The defendants, Geraldo, also known as Juice, and Hugh, also known as Jonathan Chan and Jonathan Hugh, and Screwley and Stanley, and Zalani, also known as Jay, together with others, did knowingly intentionally conspire to obstruct, delay, and affect commerce and the movement of articles and commodities in commerce by extortion, and that the defendants and others obtain property, to wit, U.S. currency from John Doe number 5 with his consent, which consent was induced by wrongful use of actual and threatened force, violence, and fear. Count 6 is Hobbs Act robbery conspiracy for John Doe number 7. On or about September 7, 2023, within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, the defendants Awada, known as Flapper Poker, and Heidi, also known as Albanian Bruce and Big Bruce, Mazzalo, also known as John South, Manucci, and Stroud, also known as Black Rob, together with others, did knowingly and intentionally conspire to obstruct, delay, and affect commerce and the movement of articles and commodities in commerce by robbery, to wit, the robbery of a rigged shuffling machine from John Doe number 7. Count 7, Hobbs Act extortion conspiracy for John Doe number 6. In or about and between September 2023 and October 2023, both dates being approximate and inclusive within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, the defendants, Betcher, Hugh, Trustman, together with others, did knowingly and intentionally conspire to obstruct, delay, and affect commerce and the movement of articles and commodities in commerce by extortion, and that the defendants and others obtained property, to wit, U.S. currency from John Doe number 6 with the consent, which consent was induced by wrongful use of actual and threatened force, violence, and fear. Of course, there's the criminal forfeiture allegation as to count 1. They want all your stuff, okay? The United States hereby gives notice to the defendants charged in count 1 that upon their conviction of such offense, the government will seek forfeiture in accordance with Title 18 U.S.C. 981 sub A sub 1 sub C. And hold on. I know, that's what I said, Mo. I was like, not my boy Chauncy. Sharice said, I'm surprised nobody blaming Diddy. You know he gets blamed for everything. They probably like Diddy snitch. You missed your notification. Yeah, dial it back. But dial it back when we get finished so you can participate in the chat. I'll give you the cliff note right quick. So today, the government woke up and they wanted all the smoke. Okay. So they decided to arrest a whole bunch of people with a whole lot of nicknames. Allegedly, there is a mafia tie, and it's illegal, illegal gambling. Okay. So allegedly the gambling wasn't supposed to be wasn't legal anyway, because it was a business. But then allegedly they would get these wealthy people in order to attract wealthy people to come to the table so they can have a poker game. However, they had the wealthy people were just like a decoy. They were like a prop because they drew other wealthy people. So they were the face, and they would have access to someone who was an operator, and they had all these machines that they're alleging were rigged. And so these machines, they would know who got the best hands. And so of course they would win. And so in some of these, they would have sunglasses and contacts, allegedly, of which they can tell and see people's cards, and they can see certain lines in the cards and things of that nature. So it looks like some of these retired basketball players, including Chauncy Billups, they are alleging was just there kind of as a prop, but wasn't involved in the sole entirety of the business. Now, allegedly, the mafia is involved in this because they're saying they had the mafia be a part of it because they needed somebody to break some legs and some arms and intimidate people if they didn't want to pay. I'm just giving those as examples, but they were there to make sure the money came through, and then they allegedly would get a piece. So they had certain people that's in this indictment that would collect the money from these illegal gambling, poker games, and make sure, because their job was the enforcer or to protect them and to make sure other people, I guess, in the entity in the area wasn't doing the same thing. So they had a monopoly of it. Does that kind of sum it up? Okay. Elite Leo said Gilbert Arenas and Jonte Porter were both arrested some months ago, so they're blaming them. Plus, Gilbert said he wasn't going down for everyone else and said he was going to snitch. Oh, he admitted it, huh? Gilbert Arenas said, okay, what you need? Mm-hmm. Allegedly. All right, y'all. So that is what is going on with Chauncy Billups and them. Chauncy, I don't believe you did it. I can't believe that. But everyone right now is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It sounds like an elaborate situation going on, of which over there in New York, they got another one. I guess they said they got another big one. Chauncey has been placed on leave while they investigate this indictment because they take this stuff very seriously. That's what they said. So people in the chat talking about, I knew my parlay was messed up. This ain't had nothing to do with your parlay. See, you lied and wrong. They talking about a whole separate situation with some poker games. Now, if there's something else that's going on with the actual games or betting on his own, I don't know anything about that. I'm just going off of what this says right now. Yeah, he's on leave. He had to take a break. Being arrested kind of does that, where you got to walk away for a few minutes. Oh, you said just throw the Hall of Fame down the tub. Oh, man. That's what they said, Auntie, but I don't know. This the first I heard of it. I'm listening to Elite Leo. That's what Elite Leo said. So I'm sorry you didn't get the notification, but you can, dial it back. Well, that's what they said, Mo. You must have missed that. That's what they said. Kathy said, I believe Chauncey had a gallon debt and the mafia made him the offer he could not refuse. I don't know, but I ain't trying to speculate. I don't get into mafia's business, okay? Got nothing to do with me. I'm just reporting the indictment, and all these people, even these crime families named. Everybody's innocent right now. And a couple of them have already entered appearances. The attorneys have entered appearances already. I know Ruggiero has an appearance in. Who else entered an appearance? Let me see. Uh, um, Minucci has a lawyer that has entered appearance. So some of these people was already ready to rock and roll. Okay. So you said, I told him. I said he helped us out here. I'm like, free Chauncey. They said Chauncey done got caught up in the game. That's what they're alleging, but we shall see. We will watch as this unfold. But yeah, that is pretty complicated. I was just reading that like, yeah, this is a lot. It's a lot what's being alleged. Good afternoon. Good to see you. Good to see you, Lakita. Thank you so much for joining us, sis. There's a press conference. Where the press conference at? Is it on YouTube? Do we need to watch it? Let's see. Press conference for Chauncy Billups and the mafia stuff, or is it from the Eastern District? Gambling ring. Hold on. Oh, that was like 8 minutes ago, huh? Okay, let's see. Let's see what they got. We can watch that. Let's see what they talking about. Mm.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Joseph Nocella. I am the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. I'd like to welcome you here today. In addition, we have with us today FBI Director Kash Patel, FBI Assistant Director in Charge Christopher Rea of the New York Field Office, Special Agent in Charge of the New York Field Office, Leslie Bakshi's, New York Special Agent in Charge of Homeland Security, Ricky Patel, Newark Special Agent in Charge of Homeland Security, Michael McCarty, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny, and the Executive Director of the Waterfront Commission, Phoebe Sorrell. I'm now going to turn the podium over to FBI Director Kash Patel.
I think that's as loud as it gets, y'all. That's all I got.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Casa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncy Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing.
Wow.
Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchesi crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation. And we could not have done it without our interagency partners that are before us today. The NYPD, HSI, and teams of law enforcement officials from around the country made this day possible. It takes a team to bring this kind of justice, sweeping justice, into the halls of the United States courtrooms, where our brave United States attorney has led this prosecution. It takes courageous prosecutors to stand before you and say, we will not allow this kind of illicit activity to happen, not only at the national sporting level, but also where it hides in La Cosa Nostra. And when these two collided together, they perpetrated a fraud that is historic in terms of not just money, but the scheme and the deceit that they utilize to steal and swindle people for money, to include crypto fraud. This is an operation that showcases to you that under President Trump's administration, there is no room for any type of criminal behavior, be it on the world's largest stage or in the back rooms of tiny parlors where guard games are being played. We are proud to stand here today with the men and women of the FBI and this legal team. And to the United States Attorney, I just want to thank you personally for taking the time to display the work that the media is about to hear about today in detail. As I said, it does take courageous prosecutors, but it takes a courageous United States Attorney to bring this case, because we are going to take heat for it. But we don't shy away in this administration. We don't say no. What we do is we bring the results across the finish line. We bring them to the public. We bring you accountability. And yes, they will have their day in court, and you will hear the evidence through the court system exclusively. We will not deny anyone of due process. And that's the brilliance of this system. That's the brilliance of this.
I'm gonna mute my mic. You guys tell me if you can hear it better.
With that, I turn it over to United States Attorney Nosella. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Patel. To be clear, we're announcing today indictments in two major cases, both involving fraud. One involves sports betting, and the other involves illegal gambling, very specifically rigged poker games. The first indictment involves 6 defendants who are alleged to have participated in one of the most brazen sports corruption schemes since online sports betting became widely legalized in the United States. This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams. The second indictment involves 31 defendants alleged to have participated in a nationwide scheme to rig illegal poker games. These defendants, which include former professional athletes, used high-tech cheating technology to steal millions of dollars from victims in underground poker games that were secretly fixed. The games in the New York area were backed by the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families of La Cosa Nostra. While the cases are separate, there are 3 overlapping defendants charged in both cases. Damon Jones.
Hold on 1 second, y'all. I'm trying to see if I take my mic off, if it sounds better. So y'all can tell me, because it might have been because it was going through my mic or something. I don't know, because you know I'm new to using the mic. So let me know if this is better. I'm going to take it back just a little bit.
Dollars from victims in underground poker games that were secretly fixed. The games in the New York area were backed by the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families of La Cosa Nostra. While the cases are separate, there are 3 overlapping defendants charged in both cases: Damon Jones, Eric Ernest, and Shane Hennon. The indictments in these cases contain only allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law. But my message to the defendants who've been rounded up today is this: your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on that.
Oh, that was cute.
First, I would like to talk about United States versus Ernest, the NBA basketball gambling case. The defendants in this case are Eric Ernest, Marvez Farley, Shane Hennon, De Niro Laster, Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach, and Terry Rozier, a current NBA player. Other co-conspirators were previously charged for their roles in the scheme, including former NBA player Jontay Porter. Between December 2022 and March 2024, these defendants perpetrated a screen.
So they must be talking about a whole different case too, because them I don't think those names were in the indictment I just read. So let's go on. We'll get the facts of that through them.
A scheme to defraud by betting on inside, non-public information about NBA athletes and teams. The non-public information.
So this is the one that people were talking about, I guess, with the inside betting, of which I heard there was something where, for instance, if an NBA player knew that somebody was injured, they would let people know that they're injured and they would be able to do things like bet based on that. So this must be a whole nother case than what I just read with Chauncey.
Included when specific players would be sitting out future games,
Mm-hmm.
or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses. They relied on corrupt individuals, including Jones and Rozier. They also misused information obtained through long-standing friendships that they had with NBA players and coaches. And in at least one instance, they got their information by threatening a current player, Porter, because of his pre-existing gambling debts. Defendants used this non-public information to place hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraudulent bets, mostly in the form of prop bets on individual player performance. The bets were placed through online sports books and also in person at casinos. The defendants relied on a network of straw bettors to place the maximum amount of bets to increase their potential profits. Most of these bets succeeded, and the intended losses were in the millions of dollars. The defendants then laundered their illegal winnings in various ways: peer-to-peer platforms, bank wires, and simple cash exchanges. The indictment details specific examples where the defendants profited from illegal gambling and illegal betting on various NBA games about the performance of players on, among other things, the Charlotte Hornets, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Toronto Rangers. Each defendant in the NBA basketball gambling case has been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Now, I would like to turn to the other case, United States versus Aiello, the rigged poker game case. Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant, Chauncy Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach. What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme. For example, they used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand and relay that information to an offsite operator. The offsite operator sent the information via cell phone back to a co-conspirator at the table, and that person at the table was known as the quarterback. The quarterback then signaled secretly the information he had received from others to others at the table, and together they used that information in order to win their games and to cheat the victims. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table. What you see depicted on the screen right now is an example of the X-ray table that reveals the cards. Although they are face down on the table, they can be read because of the X-ray technology.
No, that's
The
the
mafia,
technology right there.
specifically members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese organized crime families, had pre-existing control over non-rigged, illegal poker games around New York City. As a result, they also became involved in the rigged poker games, helping to organize the games and taking a cut of the proceedings, and working to enforce the collection of debts. The defendants laundered their proceeds, including through cash exchanges, the use of multiple shell companies, and through cryptocurrency transfers. As part of the scheme, some of the defendants and their co-conspirators also committed acts of violence, including the gunpoint robbery of a person in order to obtain a rigged shuffling machine, and extortions that were perpetrated against victims in order to ensure that they repaid their gambling debts. Defendants who participated in the rigged poker scheme are charged with wire fraud conspiracy. Other defendants have been charged with crimes including illegal gambling, money laundering, Hobbs Act robbery, and extortions. This case demonstrates our office's unrelenting commitment to fighting the scourge of organized crime in whatever form it takes. I'd like to conclude my remarks by thanking the incredible hard work of our law enforcement partners, including the FBI, Homeland Security, the NYPD, and the Waterfront Commission. I also want to thank the dedicated prosecutors who built these two cases and who are standing to my right. Benjamin Weintraub, David Bourbon, Caitlin Farrell, Michael Gibaldi, Irisa Chen, and Sean Sherman. They had the assistance of paralegal specialists Liam McNett, John Schneider, Marlene Bosler.
That's right. Shout out them
Also
paralegals.
deserving of our thanks because of their outstanding investigative work on the NBA case are FBI Special Agents Russell Lantier, Dominic Mariani, Amy Giaroso, Shane Wilkins, and Supervisory Special Agent Luke Hardison. On the rigged poker game scheme, outstanding work was performed by FBI Special Agents Thomas Cribbin, Jeff Boriola, Jonathan Corona, Alexander Silverman, Amy Campanaro, and Supervisory Special Agent Michael Malahi, as well as NYPD Task Officer James McCullough,
Of course.
and from Homeland Security, Supervisory Special Agent Charles Freund, and from the Waterfront Commission, Detective Paul Shimborski. Finally, I want to note that the investigations in both cases are ongoing, and we encourage anyone with information about either scheme to please contact
I don't know
the FBI.
nothing, sir.
Now I would like to turn the podium over to Special Agent in charge of the New York Field Office, I should say the Assistant Director in charge of the New York Field Office of the FBI, Christopher Rea. Chris?
All right, thank you, Joe. As always, we appreciate the partnership here. can't do any of this without you and your team. So thank you. Also want to publicly thank the director for coming down from DC. The director's a very busy person.
Okay, before we get to this guy, let's pull up this other indictment. So there were two indictments that came down. So let's pull up this other one real quick. Mm. So this one is what they call the Ernest one. So it's Eric Ernest Spook, Mars Farley, also known as Vesno, Shane Hennon, known as Sugar, Damon Jones, D. Jones, Denario Laster, Nero Peso, and Terry Rozier, also known as Scary, Terry, and Chum. Okay. This has all their residences. So Eric Ernest is a resident of Missouri. Mars Farley, also known as Vez, and Vezino Locks is a resident of Mississippi. Fairly represented himself on Instagram as a successful sports bettor and sold sports better betting picks through his Instagram profiles. Shane Hennon, also known as Sugar, was a resident of Pennsylvania and Nevada. He represented himself on Instagram. Look how Instagram, y'all bios is getting people in trouble. Putting these bios up here on Instagram as a successful sports bettor and sold sports betting picks through his Instagram profile. Damon Jones, also known as D. Jones, was a resident of Texas and was a National Basketball Association player from approximately 99 to 2009 and an NBA coach from approximately 2016 through 2018. De Niro, also known as Peso, and Nidro, you get that? De Niro? Was a resident of Ohio. Rozier, also known as Scary Terry, and Chum was a resident of Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida, was a professional basketball player who has played in the NBA since 2015. During the 22-23 NBA season, Rozier played for the Charlotte Hornets. Rozier was close friends with the defendant, De Niro, and they had known each other since childhood. So the NBA and the betting companies. The NBA was a professional basketball league in North America. I mean, it is a professional basketball, okay? Among others, NBA teams included the Charlotte Hornets, Chicago Bulls, Cleveland Cavaliers, Los Angeles Clippers, Los Angeles Lakers, Milwaukee Bucks, New Orleans Pelicans, Oklahoma City Thunder, Orlando Magic, Philadelphia 76ers, Portland Trail Blazers, Sacramento Kings, and Toronto Raptors. The NBA maintained codes of conduct applicable to each player, coaches, and management that prohibited, among other things, wagering in connection with NBA games or providing non public information relating to NBA games to others. Such codes of conduct also require NBA players, coaches, and management to provide their best services and loyalty to their teams. NBA teams were required to report to the NBA information concerning players' injuries, illnesses, and rest for all NBA games. On each game day, the NBA disseminated an quote injury report for each NBA team playing that day. The injury report identified players as falling within one of the following categories: available, probable, or questionable, doubtful, and out. The injury reports were updated multiple times throughout each game day. Betting companies, one through four entities, the identities of which are known to the grand jury, were licensed gambling companies operating in the United States that offered sports betting services. The betting companies offered sports betting services relating to, among other things, NBA games and individual player statistical performances in NBA games. Since approximately 2021, Betting Company 1 and Betting Company 2 have been the co official sports betting partners of the NBA. Okay. So then they got other relevant people and their co-conspirators and all of that. Background of sports betting. So, in or about 1992, following several high profile sports betting scandals, the U.S. Congress passed the Federal Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, which bans all but 4 states from sponsoring, authorizing, operating, and regulating sports wagering. The 4 accepted states are Nevada, Oregon, Delaware, and Montana, and existing sports wagering regimes that PASPA grandfathered in. In or about 2018, following years of litigation between the state of New Jersey, which desired to legalize sports betting in several major American professional and college sports leagues, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down PASPA as unconstitutional. In the ensuing years, sports betting, and particularly online sports betting, became legal in dozens of states. So that's your history for those that wanted to know how this all developed. The betting companies operated online mobile applications, branded retail sports books at various casinos nationwide, or both. Online wagers made through the betting companies. Online mobile applications were made pursuant to the betting companies' respective terms of use. Wagers made at retail sports books were made pursuant to the sports book's house rules. Among other things, the terms of use and house rules generally prohibited users from wagering in connection with sporting contests when the wagers were based on or the users had access to pre release confidential information or other non public information. The terms of use and house rules also prohibited individuals from using others to place wagers on their behalf, otherwise known as straw betting. Despite the recent widespread legalization of sports betting, unlicensed bookmakers or bookies also offered sports betting services to bettors. Bookies frequently accepted bets on bespoke betting websites that allow users to place various types of wagers on sporting contests based on publicly available betting lines. Unlike legal sports books, bookies typically settled up the bettors' wages, i.e., received payment from and or paid the bettors in connection with the wagers offline, generally through cash, peer-to-peer payments, or cryptocurrency transactions. A quote proposition or prop bet was a bet made regarding the occurrence or non-occurrence during a game of an event, not directly affecting the game's outcome. For example, a bettor might wager that a particular player would score more, referred to as betting the over, or fewer, referred to as betting the under. Points, then a certain number of points designated by the betting operator for given game. Prop bets took many forms. For example, a bettor could place props bets on the points, rebounds, assists, minutes played, and or three-pointers made by individual NBA players. A money line bet was a bet placed on game's outcome, i.e., which team would win or lose the game. Relatedly, a point spread or spread bet was a bet placed on the margin of victory or defeat in a given game. See, I'm learning. I didn't even know all this stuff. A parlay bet was a bet that was comprised of 2 or more individual bets as opposed to a single or straight bet, which was comprised of one individual bet. For a bettor to win a parlay bet, each bet or leg within the parlay bet had to be successful. A betting line or line was a number set by odd makers to represent the expected outcome of a particular event. In the context of prop bets, a betting line was the number set by odd makers for a given outcome. For example, an odds maker might set the betting line for a given player's points in a given game at 20. Bettors would then have the choice to bet the under, i.e., that the player will score fewer than 20 points in the game, or the over, i.e., that the player will score more than 20 points. Odd makers had proprietary processes for setting betting lines, but betting lines generally took into account all publicly known information relevant to a given bet. Good gosh, it's the intro. You got to give all of this for us to even know what you're talking about. Okay, y'all ready to see what this alleged scheme was? The fraudulent wagering scheme. In or about between December 2022 and March 2024, the defendants Eric Ernest, Mars Farley, Shane Hennon, Damon Jones, De Niro Laster, and Terry Rozier, together with others, participated in the scheme to defraud the betting companies by providing, obtaining, and using non-public information relating to NBA games to place and cause others to place fraudulent sports wagers for profits and to launder the proceeds thereof. The fraudulent wagering scheme typically involved various iterations of the same pattern within a network of co-conspirators. The defendants had certain co-conspirators had access to private information known by NBA players or NBA coaches that was likely to affect the outcome of upcoming NBA games or individual players' performances. They provided other co-conspirators this non-public information in exchange for either a flat fee or a share in expected wagering profits for the purpose of betting. The co-conspirators disseminated the non-public betting information through a network of individuals who placed bets on the co-conspirators' behalf, placed wagers on their own behalf, or directed others to place wagers, all with the intention of profiting off the scheme at the expense of the betting companies. As a result, many of the wagers were placed in connection with betting lines that did not reflect or account for the private information known by the defendants and their co-conspirators, rendering the wagers more profitable. The defendants and their co-conspirators placed and caused others to place these fraudulent wagers through the betting companies' mobile apps and retail sportsbook. In doing so, the defendants and their co-conspirators made and caused others to make materially false and misleading statements and representations to the betting companies and to omit to state one or more material facts which made what was represented under the circumstances misleading, including that the wagers were placed in accordance with the betting company's terms and conditions and house rules, prohibiting, among other things, wagering based on non-public information. Okay, let me go down to the March 23rd, 2023 Charlotte Hornets game. So these are the examples of the fraudulent wagers. The defendant, Terry Rozier, played for the Charlotte Hornets. Prior to the Hornets' March 23, 2023 game against the New Orleans Pelicans, Rozier informed the defendant, Deniro Laster, that Rozier was going to prematurely remove himself from the game in the first quarter due to a supposed injury and not return to play further. Rozier provided this information to Laster for the purpose of enabling Laster to place wagers based on this information. Rozier was not on the Hornets injury report prior to the March 23rd game, and Hornets officials were not aware of Rozier's plan to exit the game prematurely. The public, including the betting companies, was also not aware of Rozier's plan to exit the March 23rd game prematurely. The defendant, De Niro, sold the information about the defendant, Terry Rozier's plan to lead a March 23rd game early to multiple co-conspirators, including to the defendant, Fairley and co-conspirator 1, to enable them to place fraudulent wagers based on the non-public information. In exchange for the information, Fairley and co-conspirator 1 agreed to pay Laster approximately $100,000 from their expected fraudulent gambling winnings. Prior to the March 23rd game, Fairley, Laster, and co-conspirator 1 exchanged text messages confirming that Rozier planned to exit the game prematurely and confirming their plan to place wagers on Rozier's under, i.e. that Rozier would underperform relative to the odd makers' betting lines for his individual performance. Y'all don't make enough money in the NBA. Like, come on. Come on now. This is all alleged, though. He is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Fairley also provided the information to defendant Henin, and Henin, both himself and through a network of straw bettors, could place bets on the defendant Terry Rozier's under. Fairley provided the information to Henin, and Henin agreed to place and direct his associates to place bets on Rozier's under based on the agreement between them that Henin would give Fairley a share of the profits from his and his associates' winning bets. On or about March 23rd, 2023, and prior to the start of March 23rd game, Henin placed multiple bets at a retail sportsbook operated by betting company 3, totaling approximately $61,200, all of which were either straight or parlay bets on the defendant Terry Rozier's unders. In addition to placing bets on Rozier's unders himself, Henin marshaled a network of associates to place bets on Rozier's unders at Henin's direction, including but not limited the following bets, all of which were placed on or about March 23rd, 2023 to the start of March 23 game. So There's some alleged co-conspirators that's probably up in this NBA that they just not naming. Co-conspirator 2 placed multiple straight or parlay bets on Rozier's under at a retail sports book operated by Betting Company 1 and on Betting Company 1's mobile app totaling $107,000. Timothy McCormick and Long 5 Fan placed multiple straight or parlay bets on Rozier's under at a retail sports book located in New Jersey and operated by Betting Company 1 and Betting Company 1's app totaling $41K. Hours later, McCormick received 2 payments totaling approximately $40K via a peer-to-peer mobile cash platform that McCormick and fam used to fund the above-described wages on Rozier's under. Co-conspirator 3 placed multiple straight or parlay bets on Rozier's under at a retail sportsbook operated by Betting Company Number 1 and Betting Company Number 1's app totaling $20K. Co-conspirator 4 placed multiple straight bets on Rozier's unders at a retail sports operating by Betting Company 1 and on Betting Company 1's app for approximately $17K. Co-conspirator 5 placed multiple straight bets on Rozier's under at a retail sportsbook operated by Betting Company 4 totaling $12.5. In addition to the defendants and their co-conspirators, others in the defendant Terry Rozier's close circle placed wagers on Rozier's under in connection with the March 23 game. For example, okay, so these are all these people who, based on this information, placed the bet on Rozier. During the March 23rd game, the defendant Terry Rozier removed himself from the game in the first quarter and did not return. Rozier's played approximately 9 minutes and 34 seconds, well below his season average of approximately 35.3 minutes per game. Rozier scored 5 points, recorded 2 assists, and made 1 3-point shot, which were all well below his per game average of approximately 21.1 points, 5.1 assists, and 2.6 3-pointers, and below the line set by odd makers for Rozier's points, assists, and 3-pointers in the March 23rd game. Rozier collected 4 rebounds, which was in line with his per game average of approximately 4.1 rebounds and above the line set by odd makers for Rozier's rebounds in the March 23rd game. Rozier's early exit from the March 23rd game and his related underperformance relative to his season average for points, assists, and 3-pointers resulted in the success of numerous fraudulent wagers placed on Rozier's under by the defendants and their co-conspirators. Then they got Fairley, I guess he traveled to go collect. De Niro traveled to Philadelphia to collect the proceeds from the alleged fraudulent wagering. Rozier arranged and paid for last year's travel to Philly. In or about in between the late night hours of March 28, 2023 and the early morning hours of March 29, Fairley gave Laster tens of thousands of dollars in cash as payments for the non-public information that Laster had obtained from Rozier and had provided Fairley regarding Rozier's plan to exit prematurely from the March 23rd game. Now they got a Portland Trailblazer game. This is so like, are they gonna let the people? What about the people that are waged on the app? That means they all got duped too, allegedly. Like, how do they get compensated? Is the app or is somebody they gonna have to pay the app back? Then the app gonna pay back the people? Because that means they're not the only, the app is not the only ones that got defrauded. The people that betted on the app would have got defrauded too, which would have been the general public, if this is all true. I don't know. How are they gonna handle that, guys? Hit the like button. Hit the like button until then. So here's another one. March 24, 2023 at the Portland Trailblazers game. On or about March 24, 2023, the Portland Trailblazers played the Chicago Bulls. Prior to the game, the Trailblazers record was 32-40. And the team was out of playoff contention with only 10 games remaining in the season. Prior to the March 24th game, co-conspirator 8 told the defendant Eric Ernest that the Trailblazers were going to be tanking. i.e., intentionally losing to increase their odds of getting a better draft pick in the upcoming NBA draft. Co-conspirator 8 told Ernest before the news was publicly announced that several of the Trailblazers' best players, including player 1, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, would not be playing in the March 24th game. The information that the Trailblazers would be tanking and not playing player 1 was not available to the public, including the betting companies. So the actual team made a conscious decision to tank so they can be in a better position for the draft, knowing it was going to sit out its best players, I guess. And nothing's wrong with that. Shouldn't they have I don't know. I guess. Prior to the March 24th game, the defendant Eric Ernest provided this non-public inside info to the defendant Fairley so that Fairley could place fraudulent wagers on the game and share the profits with Ernest. In exchange, Fairley ultimately promised to pay Ernest at least $5,000 if the bets against the Trailblazers were successful. I mean, if they was losing like that anyway, who was really betting for them to win? But anyway, in addition, Fairley texted Ernest a screenshot of a purported $20,000 wire transfer from Fairley's bank account to Ernest, accompanied by the message "address for wire." After the defendant Fairley learned from the defendant Eric Ernest that the Trailblazers plan not to play their best players in the March 24th game, Fairley conveyed that non-public information to co-conspirator 1. Fairley and co-conspirator 1 agreed to split the profits on successful wagers that could place against the Trailblazers. Before these key Trailblazer players were publicly ruled out of the March 24th game, the defendant Fairley and Herein themselves, and together with their co-conspirators, including co-conspirator 1, placed and caused the placement of multiple bets that the Trailblazers would lose the March 24th game, totaling more than approximately $100,000. So giving you all the betting that they did in between that time. The NBA injury report publicly released at approximately 1:30 p.m. at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on March 24th reported that player 1 was respectively probable and then questionable to play in the March 24th game. At approximately 9:30 p.m. on March 24th, approximately a half an hour before the start of the March 24th game, the NBA released an injury report listing player 1 and others as out of the game. The out group included the Trailblazers' 4 highest per game scorers during the 2022-2023 season. The betting lines related to the March 24th game changed upon the public release of the Trailblazers' key players' injury statuses. The fraudulent wagers against the Trailblazers, placed and caused by the defendants Farley and Herein, together with co-conspirators acting at their direction, were successful as the Bulls beat the Trailblazers 124-96. The April 6th Orlando Magic game. On or about April 6, 2023, the Orlando Magic played the Cleveland Cavaliers. The defendant Fairley and co-conspirator 1 leveraged co-conspirators 1 personal relationship with one of the Magic's regularly starting players, player 2, and individuals whose identity is known to the grand jury, to obtain non-public information about the April 6th game, which they used to place at least one successful wager. Hours before the April 6th game, player 2 told co-conspirator 1 before the news was publicly announced that Magic would not be playing its entire regular starting lineup, i.e. the team's best players in the April 6th game. After receiving this information, co-conspirator 1 provided this information to Fairley. At that time, the co-conspirator 1 shared this information with Fairley. The Magic were favored to win the game by approximately 9 points. Shortly thereafter, Fairley placed an approximate $11,000 wager with an unlicensed bookmaker that the Cavaliers would cover the game spread of 9.5 points. That is, the bet would be successful if the Cavaliers won the game outright or lost the game by 9 points or fewer. The Magic did not play its entire regular starting lineup in the April 6th game, and the betting lines changed upon the public release of information relating to Magic's starting lineup. The Cavaliers beat the Magic by 24 points in the April 6th game, thus rendering Farley and co-conspirator one's fraudulent bet against the Magic successful. February 9th, 2023 and January 15th, 2024, the LA Laker game. The defendant, Damon Jones, was a former NBA player and assistant coach. Jones played in the NBA from approximately 1999 through 2008, including as a member of the Cavaliers from approximately 2005 to 2008. Jones was an assistant coach on the Cavaliers from approximately 2014 through 2018. Jones was also an unofficial assistant coach on the LA Lakers during 2022-2023 NBA season. During many of those days, Jones was a teammate or coach of a prominent NBA player, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury. Oh, let's reread that. Jones was also an official assistant coach on the LA Lakers during 2022 to 2023 NBA season. During many of those years, Jones was a teammate or coach of a prominent NBA player, player three, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury. Just saying. I ain't saying no names. Just saying. A little familiar. I'm just saying. By the virtue of his relationship with player three, the Lakers and other NBA personnel, the defendant Damon Jones had access to non-public information, including medical information that had not been released to the public. On multiple occasions during the 22-23 and 23-24 NBA seasons, including as early as approximately December 2022, Jones sold or attempted to sell for-profit non-public information to others, including to the defendants Ernest and Fairley and others, for the purpose of causing or enabling them to place fraudulent wagers based on non-public information. For example, on February 9, 2023, the Lakers played the Milwaukee Bucks. On the morning of the February 9th game, the defendant, Damon Jones, sent a text message to co-conspirator 9, writing, quote, "Get a big bet on Milwaukee tonight before the information is out. Player 3 is out tonight. Bet enough so D. Jones can eat. 2 now." You put all this in text, allegedly. At the time, Jones provided this non-public information about player 3 to co-conspirator 9. Player 3 was not ruled out on the NBA's injury report for the February 9th game. Due to the lower body injury, player 3 did not play in the February 9th game, which the Lakers lost. On multiple other occasions during 2023 and 2024 NBA season, including in connection with January 15, 2024, game between the Lakers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defendants, Damon Jones and Eric Ernest, sold or attempted to sell to the defendants Farley non-public information for the purpose of causing or enabling Farley to place wagers based on the non-public information. In exchange, Fairley agreed to pay Jones via Ernest. Player 4, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, was one of the Lakers' best players during the 2023-2024 NBA season. Prior to the January 15th game, the defendant, Damon Jones, claimed to have learned from the trainer for players 3 and 4 that player 4 was injured and was only going to play a limited number of minutes, and or his performance will likely be affected in the game because of the injury. Jones shared this non-public information with who? Eric Ernest, who then sent a text message to the defendant Fairley stating, quote, "Hit me ASAP. Got one for you, dude. Say he got some information," end quote. Ernest then shared the non-public information about player 4 with Fairley. Fairley paid Jones approximately $2,500 through an intermediary via a peer-to-peer mobile payment platform accompanied by the message fee. After receiving this non-public information and before January 15, 2024 game began, of course, Fairley and Hennon allegedly and co-conspirator 1 allegedly placed multiple bets against the Lakers For example, Fairley placed an approximately $100,000 bet against the Lakers at a retail sports book operated by company number two. So ultimately, player four played in the January 15 game in line with his season average in minutes and performed well, and the Lakers won the game. After the January 15 game, the defendant fairly requested via the defendant Ernest that the defendant Damon Jones repay that 2,500. Said, wait a minute. They might have set you up to see if you were going to regurgitate this information. Because now he ended up playing the game. They won. And now Fairley's like, yo, Damon, give me my money back. Despite the Lakers winning the January 15 game, Jones reaffirmed to Ernest after the game, including via text message, that he had received credible, non-public information regarding player four prior to the game. He's like, I don't owe you nothing. I gave you what I had, and it was credible. January 26, 2024, and March 20th, Toronto Raptors games. January 26, 2024, and 2024. The Raptors played the Los Angeles Clippers and the Sacramento Kings, the March 20 games. Prior to the January 26 game and the March 20 game, Jontay Porter, then a player on the Raptors, agreed with Long Five Fam and others to exit the game prematurely on the basis of purported injury so that certain of their co-conspirators could place fraudulent wagers on Porter's unders. Y'all don't get paid enough already? I'm back to that. What is this? Prior to both the January 26th game and the March 20th game, FAM provided the non-public information about Porter to the defendant, Shane Hennon, for the purpose of causing or enabling Hennon to place fraudulent wagers based on the non-public information. After obtaining this non-public information, Hennon shared this information with the defendant, Marvis Farley, for the purpose of causing, enabling Farley to place additional fraudulent wagers based on the non-public information. After obtaining the non-public information relating to Porter's plan to exit the January 26th game and the March 20th game early, Hennon placed and directed and caused a number of his associates to place wagers on Porter's unders, all which were successful. Hennon conducted multiple transfers via peer-to-peer mobile payment platform to promote the scheme and distribute the proceeds. Count one, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. That is against Eric Ernest, also known as Spook, Mars Farley, also known as Vez or Vezino Locks, Shane Hennon, also known as Sugar, Damon Jones, also known as D. Jones and D. Jones, De Niro Laster, also known as Nero, Peso, and Terry Rozier, also known as Scary Terry and Chum, together with others, did knowingly intentionally conspire to devise a scheme or artifacts to defraud the betting companies. You guys know what that is. We went through that on the last one. Count two, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and that is against Eric Ernest, also known as Spook, Marvis Farley, Shane Hennon, Damon Jones, Danita Lester, Terry Rozier. That's count two. And they got the criminal forfeiture. So somebody said that Porter already, did he plea or something? Because he not in this. His name was on here. Even so, did he plea? What happened to him? And Jontay Porter has a brother named Michael Porter Jr., who is also an NBA player. He was on the Denver Nuggets team that won the championship. He has a 5-year, $207 million. Whoa. Okay. Oh, he got money. Let me see about Jontay Porter. Did he plea or cooperate or do something? Let me see. Oh, yeah, he pled guilty. That was last year, though, right? He was the one that was banned. Okay. So, Jonte Porter betting scheme pleads guilty. A Brooklyn man pleaded guilty Wednesday in connection to the sports betting scheme involving Jonte Porter, the former Toronto Raptors player who was banned from the NBA and pleaded guilty to a federal conspiracy crime. Long Five Fam, also known as Bruce, admitted to a charge of wire fraud conspiracy at a hearing at the U.S. District Court of the Eastern District of New York. Three other men have been charged in the plot. Pham has been released on $750,000 bond as he awaits sentencing scheduled for April 25th of 2025. He could face up to 20 years in prison, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Okay. That is messed up. So anyway, okay, we could finish why I just wanted to because we didn't go over that first. So we went over like two different indictments, y'all. Let me see.
And for him to come down should tell you the
And I know
importance
it's
of this
low. That's
historic
just how it
case.
is.
I'm Christopher Rea, the assistant director in charge of the FBI New York field office. Today, as you've heard, our office conducted a massive nationwide takedown from two indictments of 34 defendants for their alleged involvement in two separate illegal poker and sports betting schemes where, as you heard, the odds were rigged in their favor. Among these defendants are 13 members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families, to include capos and soldiers from these families. Additionally, as you heard, current and former NBA coaches and players are also implicated, to include Chauncy Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier. Three of the named defendants are charged for their alleged roles in both schemes. This alleged illegal gambling operation hustled unwitting victims out of tens of millions of dollars and created a financial pipeline for La Cosa Nostra to help fund and facilitate their organized criminal activity. Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncy Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor, as alleged, and as you just heard from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This alleged scheme wreaked havoc across the nation, exploiting the notoriety of some and the wallets of many to fund the Italian crime families here in New York. Let me be clear about this fact. The FBI has not and will never take their eye off the ball when it comes to Italian organized crime in this city, specifically the LCN and the five families here in New York. We are not going to permit any criminal enterprise, whether it be Italian organized crime, Asian organized crime, Eurasian organized crime. We are not going to permit any of those organized crimes, families, and organizations to operate in our city or our country, as evidenced by the 11 states that were also participating in this operation today. The FBI office here in New York remains committed to eradicating all unlawful revenue streams fueling this criminal activity. As with most cases we've worked, this is only the tip of the iceberg for the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Our LCN squad agents and analysts are continuing to work day and night with the Eastern District of New York to ensure members and associates of the five families cannot continue to wreak havoc in our communities. Today would not have been possible without the tireless efforts and dedication of the FBI New York Eurasian Organized Crime Task Force, which, as you heard, was led by Supervisory Special Agent Luke Hardison, and the Italian Organized Task Force, which was led by Supervisory Special Agent Mike Malahi. And coincidentally, Supervisory Special Agent Malahi is going out on a positive as he is retiring at the end of this month for 30 years of dedicated service to the FBI, and that deserves a hand. He's what we call a legend here at FBI New York. Additionally, obviously, we cannot do this alone without our partners. I want to extend my appreciation to Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent in Charge, Ricky Patel. Of course, we do nothing in this city without the NYPD. New York City Police Department Commissioner Jesse Tisch, thank you, ma'am, for all your work and all your resources that you dedicated to this. And New York Waterfront Commissioner Phoebe Soriel for their agency's assistance and support throughout this lengthy and complex investigation. Our collective efforts ensured these subjects will face accountability, like the director said, for their alleged wrongdoings. Thank you, and I'll now turn it over to Special Agent in charge of HSI, Ricky Patel.
Thanks, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ricky Patel. I'm the Special Agent in charge for Homeland Security Investigations here in New York. This morning, hundreds of special agents and investigators with HSI, the FBI, the New York Waterfront Commission, and the NYPD descended upon the homes of individuals who for years have operated with the false sense of impunity, a false sense of incivility. In the early hours of today, across 9 states, coast to coast, dozens of defendants were arrested and will face the consequences of their alleged crimes. This was their wake-up call. With the alleged involvement of 3 La Cosa Nostra crime families, 1 NBA head coach, a Hall of Famer, no less, and former NBA players, the years of investigative work that culminated with this morning's operation seem reminiscent of a Hollywood movie. But this wasn't luck, and this wasn't theatrics. This was an evidence-driven, relentless, and unified effort among law enforcement. Through what we have dubbed Operation Royal Flush, HSI New York, along with our task force personnel from the Waterfront Commission, first uncovered this scheme more than 4 years ago. Agents and investigators dedicated countless hours and sleepless nights in identifying the criminal network, dissecting communications and patterns, and following the money with precision. We built.
All right, y'all. I can't do it. I'm so sleepy. I've been up since 4:30. I'm so tired. That's enough. That is what what today's breaking news is. The NBA got some things going on. Alleged illegal gambling. If you just came on here, make sure you scroll back to the beginning. Yeah, that's all we got, y'all. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm about to take a quick nap. I hope you guys have a good afternoon. If something else happened, we'll be back on. And yeah, you said, can we release release the files? No, that's not important. What are you talking about? What do you mean? And they keep repeating the same. It's like they be waiting on this moment. Like they've written this speech a year ago, and they were just waiting on the indictment to be unsealed so they can talk about, we do not tolerate this in this administration. If you want to do things illegally, this is not what we do. We will crack down on illegal gambling and taking it back. I just want to know the people that got on those apps, how much are you going to give them? If you lost because you didn't have the inside information, these people lost money. The reason why they made money is because other people bet according to how the trend was. It didn't happen. So why should they trust the NBA? You just said that in one of the incidents, it was a decision that they were going to lose so they could have a better decision. I think we kind of know that probably happens. But there's still some teams that even though they're losing, they'll beat another losing team. So you still want to bet in a certain way depending on how they've been scoring for that season. So to know that to get better positions, you throw away games and you sit your people out and put they're not coming out or whatever. Like, what are you going to do for the public that decided they wanted to bet on these games? It doesn't seem like there's any type of recompense for those people who lost thousands of dollars. I don't know. What I do know is I'm going to sleep. You guys have a good evening. If nothing else happened, we'll be back, Lord willing, on another day. Holla at y'all next time.